Hey guys, check it out. You're watching Jonathan Clarke on YouTube. Oh no! I can't even begin to tell you how many stories I could share with you guys about how YouTube used to work back in 2005. Pretty much how YouTube used to work was it was all about who had the fastest internet and who could upload their video the fastest to beat out the algorithm. And now YouTube has changed so much over the years, which allows us to really broaden our horizons and reach more people than ever before. We can go live, we can stream our videos in 4K. Over 20 years ago, you couldn't do that. Pretty much your video had to be 10 minutes long and you had to squeeze everything into a 10-minute long video. I had no idea how I would ever do it. And now almost 25 and a half years later, I'm sitting here with the most popular Descendants of Zombies YouTube channel of all time. And it goes without saying thank you so much to every fan of Descendants of Zombies who have believed in people such as Clarke, Malia Baker, and Ruby Rose Turner with all of their heart. We can talk about the stars of the past too, Dove Cameron, Sophia Carson, Cameron Boyce, who undeniably will hold a very special place in our heart, and over 10 years has come and gone, but in 10 years I've experienced every emotion in the book. Together we have cried together, we've laughed together, we've shared in so many emotional times for Descendants of Zombies because sometimes we had to be there for each other because we not only experienced fun times, we experienced emotional times too, but you know something, the emotional moments that we experienced as fans of Descendants of Zombies only brought us that much closer together and made us the best of friends. This has become the greatest honor of my life, talking about your favorite characters and sharing in their stories to make them stronger people. That's what I wanted to do through the power of this YouTube channel, was make them stronger people and present so much incentive, a chance at incentive for them and the chance to create. Because I know that Disney loves to take creative control and have full power moving forward with franchises like Descendants of Zombies because there's a certain criteria they want the franchise to live up to. There's a certain direction they want to take the careers of the stars in. But I think if you give them more creative control and more creative power, there's a lot of incentive that comes with that. Because if Clarke could tell the story of Red the way she wanted to forever and always, it would be a more powerful story for what she wanted it to represent, along with all of your favorite characters from either the past or the present. I know that it's been very difficult for a lot of people to move on from the past because they never wanted to accept the new cast of Descendants of Zombies, but if anything, the new cast has really contributed to bringing it to life. And I felt more than honored to have the chance to share with you my story while I share with you why I became a fan of Descendants of Zombies to relate to this franchise more than any other content creator ever has before. Because many of them will choose to sit here and they will just pretty much review Descendants of Zombies without ever telling you who they are, to give you a backdrop of info as to why they created their channel. I created this YouTube channel because I wanted to give something special back in return to every fan of Descendants of Zombies who I would only hope at that point in time in my life would find something to really cherish about these videos that I would create, and hopefully would relate to the videos that I would upload about how I thought alien invasions and zombie apocalypses were real, and they could happen at any given moment. But you know something? As crazy as those theories seem to have been to a lot of people, it helped me bring this channel to life, and I shared stories about how I was a fan of Cinderella and Alice in Wonderland, and how I would sit in my living room every night with a floor-mount TV back in the 1980s, and I would watch classics like Cinderella come to life for the first time ever, because I really appreciated the stories of classics such as Cinderella and Alice in Wonderland, and I wanted a chance when I was really young to tell my own versions of these stories, and that's what Descendants of Zombies presented me with the opportunity to do, to tell my own versions of these stories, because we've heard so many different variations of stories such as Alice in Wonderland and Cinderella for many years, if not 100 years. Over the last 100 years, Disney has created over 15,000 characters, and that's a lot of characters to take into consideration. They've created characters that have often been long forgotten. But when you think about the extensive library of Disney characters, that opens up the door and leaves the door more widely open than ever before to see a broadening of our horizon, to see an expansion of these franchises more than perhaps we've ever been given credit for or ever remember. I remember being such a huge fan of stories such as Alice in Wonderland for her curiosity, how she wanted to run down a rabbit hole, and she had the chance to meet all these wonderful people who ultimately became such a huge part of her life, and her story became one of the most cherished classics of all time. And then Cinderella happens by February 5th, 1950. And on February 5th, 1950, we heard the story of a girl who just wanted to go to a magic ball before the clock struck 12 at midnight and find true love. And lo and behold, before the magic ran out, she had the chance to do it. But it was after the magic ran out that she found true love, and she fell in love with the one person she wanted to spend the rest of her life with, who happened to be Prince Charming. And nearly 75 years later, after the story of Cinderella was first told, Chloe Charming is doing such a beautiful job telling her own version of what it's like to be the daughter of Prince Charming and Cinderella, which is a beautiful story in its own right. And I know that Malia Baker is somebody who I never seem to give enough credit to, but hopefully I can offer an apology to her and let her know that I'm going to be talking about her more in the very near future, because I think her significance to this story is going to be something we never expected, because these characters are getting stronger all the time, and they're obviously feeling very passionate about the positions they're in to really take over, because years ago, I think this is what Descendants of Zombies wanted to evolve into, was something far more passionate than ever given credit for. I mean, we can look at it with Dove Cameron and Sophia Carson really leading the charge from 2015 to 2019, but I think what we were setting ourselves up for was the chance to really become a part of historical moments, where the stories of Cinderella and Alice in Wonderland would take flight on a magic carpet ride of their own. I, for one, would have loved to have seen Red and Chloe pay a visit to the Cave of Wonders, or go to the Atlantica undersea, and do something with mermaids themselves. There's such an opportunity to create a beautiful story with this. I've often talked about the underappreciation of some characters we saw in The Life is Sweeter When You Are a music video, where the story of Aladdin and Jasmine could have been shown a greater appreciation and could have been brought to life in a way that we never imagined, because Aladdin was always one of my favorite Disney heroes. And I know for every hero there has to be a villain, and for every villain to exist there has to be a hero. But you know something? That's what creates a beautiful story. If Jasmine and Aladdin never had Jafar as an antagonist, we would have never seen a beautiful story for Aladdin and Jasmine come to life the way that it did. And the thing was about Aladdin's story was he didn't care what he had to sacrifice to win the heart of Jasmine. And when it came to Jack and Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas, they didn't care what anybody thought of their relationship, because there were so many people who were against it. Oogie Boogie and some members of Halloween Town never wanted to see them together, but that's the reason why Nightmare Before Christmas only ever had one chapter written for it. There could have been many more, but there was only ever one chapter, because it had everything to do with its rarity and just how beautiful that story really was. Another fan favorite of mine always was The Little Mermaid, for just how Jodie Benson's voice became the voice of one of the most beautiful and iconic Disney princesses whose story was one of the most beautiful ever told. I remember reading the Little Mermaid book when I was probably 5 years old, and I remember being captivated by the illustrations of it and just how this one girl at such a young age who was trying to make a name for herself in the industry could bring the voice of the Little Mermaid to life in such a beautiful way, singing songs like Under the Sea and Part of Your World. I think that Part of Your World was one of everybody's favorite Disney classic songs from any Disney classic franchise, because of just how that song brought that movie to life, of just how Ariel was so passionate about wanting to explore the human world. There are countless stories that Disney has told us and redistributed over the years, dating all the way back to 1938 in Snow White, when it was first a silent movie, and what Disney did for that was really bring it to life in a way that it had never been brought to life before. So if you're asking me that we have a chance of seeing, could we have a chance of seeing more characters than ever before find their way into the Descendants franchise? Oh, for sure. It just comes down to how much we all believe in those characters and their stories, and I think that more people have wanted to take a chance on these stories than perhaps ever before. I myself have felt more than honored to tell you my own versions and perspectives of the stories Alice in Wonderland and Cinderella, because I was always a fan of them. I remember being the one and only guy in the theater room every day after school. I always wanted to be a member of the drama club, and I had the chance to bring so many stage productions to life, from High School Musical to Beauty and the Beast to Phantom of the Opera to Dracula. I've told you so many funny stories about how I fell down from the stage one night producing Phantom of the Opera, and I wasn't even a part of the production. I was just a member of the technical team, so when something would screw up, I would be the one guy who would be behind the stage trying to get the music right or the special effects right. And then one night I fell down from the stage, but it gave me some of my fondest memories of having a chance to be a part of these stage productions without ever having been a part of them. And I remember how appreciative people were when the licenses for High School Musical became public to high schools to have a chance to really bring that story to life of Troy Bolton and Gabriela Montez. But you know something? No matter how revered these Disney classics and these stage productions will go on to become, such as High School Musical, there's nothing been as powerful or even close to a comparison that could be made between Descendants of Zombies, because no matter who we were, we all took something special away from the stories that were told for the first time ever back in 2015. Could you ever have imagined or seen Descendants of Zombies getting to the heights of unprecedentedness it did? It did because of how we responded to it and how well received the franchises were for their powerful characters. Could you have ever ever imagined Maleficent having a daughter as powerful as what Dove Cameron meant for that role. Dove Cameron was pretty much guaranteed this role because from the first moment that a producer such as Kenny Ortega saw her, he knew she had something special to offer, and she really brought that character to life because she was encouraged by Kenny Ortega and all the members of the production team to bring this character to life through applying character traits, which oftentimes is very difficult to do. But the one quality that Dove Cameron always possessed was being able to apply character traits to a character to bring that character to life, given her passion for theater. Also, Sophia Carson felt the same way and had the same opportunity. But the success behind Descendants of Zombies had everything to do with these beautiful friendships that were first brought to life on the sets of the original cast or the new cast, because no matter who contributed to the Descendants of Zombies franchises, they all contributed to something special and really bringing it to life. But the one thing that was always highlighted were the friendships, because both on camera and off of camera, these friendships were real. And these friendships meant something to the people who were part of these casts. Years ago, we would never hear talk about that. We would never see it on Wizards of Waverly Place's set or the set of Hannah Montana, because people could never seem to get along. They could never seem to patch up their differences. It wasn't until halfway through the production value that a friendship was actually formed between people such as Miley Cyrus and Emily Osment. And years ago, I couldn't help but feel a soft place in my heart for Emily Osment, everything she had to endure dealing with the popularity of Miley Cyrus, because oftentimes the cast of shows like Hannah Montana felt as if it was too much about Miley Cyrus and the spotlight was never really given to other characters and their appreciation for what it meant to bring these characters and their stories to life. And obviously it created a lot of tension and a lot of controversy, but it goes without saying the popularity of Hannah Montana exceeded the expectations of everybody out there. I think we can still have those same conversations about people like Kylie Cantrell and Ruby Rose Turner, if never more often, because we talk about how Miley Cyrus went down in history for being the youngest Disney legend of all time enough. And I think we can talk about people like Kylie Cantrell having a chance of going down in history for being their own Disney legend in their own right more often, because I would love to have these conversations 20 years from now with people who believe the same thing. Because I know there are people out there who feel the same way about Kylie Cantrell and have forever remained passionate about her music and how she brings these characters to life, dating all the way back to Gabby Dern and the Unsittables. Whoever thought a show about how a girl would babysit aliens would become one of the most popular in Disney Channel history? It may have ended long before its time, but even though it ended long before its time, you remember specific episodes and specific moments, and High School Musical, the series, and what she did for that and how much it meant to her heart. And then she goes from these small-scale productions to a production as huge as what Descendants of Zombies would eventually morph into, and she went on to become everybody's favorite character and often one of the most cherished characters of all time for her rebelliousness. Because I think a lot of people could relate to Red more often and how Red felt, because a lot of people out there in this world seem to be rebellious because they seem to see it as the answer. But I think we've all learned from Red and how she felt and how she just wanted to paint the town red more than anything else in the world, and she really made the most of every opportunity out there, because even though her mother had set goals and dreams for her to set out and accomplish, she had her own version of those goals and dreams, and I think it eventually will lead Red down a very prominent road, and I'm really excited to be a part of that. There's rumors of a love story finding their way into Descendants of Zombies as time goes on with Freya Skye and Malachi Burton. Freya Skye just finished up her first leg of her Stars Align World Tour, and I couldn't be more proud sitting in this chair talking about Freya as much as what I had, because she deserves to be talked about and she deserves to be highlighted. Having the chance to head home in the United Kingdom and perform in front of her home country was such a huge honor for her at just the age of 16. Every venue was sold out. Everybody loves Freya Skye so much, and there are far more Freya Skye fans out there than perhaps ever given credit for. And I just want to take a moment to speak to the Freya Skye fans. Thank you so much for having supported this YouTube channel with all of your heart and having made it your favorite Freya Skye YouTube channel. I know there are a lot of people who have thrown criticism the way of Freya Skye, and both Kylie Cantrell likewise, but it's nothing that we can't outshine, and how we outshine that is with so much love and support. And I've had the chance to experience this firsthand with so many wonderful people on this Friday the 13th. Today is the second Friday the 13th of 2026, and we will get through. We will survive somehow. Thankfully, I haven't seen Jason come in through my window or a zombie apocalypse having a chance of happening, but That remains to be seen. I've always believed in superstition, and I've always made a believer out of everybody that I've ever talked about. Everything I've seemed to have ever talked about everything I've seen on TV being real, to zombie apocalypses, to alien invasions, have helped me bring these videos to life. And whatever you're going through today, I've always wanted you guys to know that everything is going to be just fine. Everything is going to be all right, because I've always believed that people such as quality control all have a light, and it's all about how you find that light and how you put every dream that you have really into action. I know that sounds very reminiscent of Victorious years ago, when the theme song had a line, "You should never be afraid to put your dreams into action," and people like Victoria Justice and Ariana Grande were the exemplification of that, because people would learn from that ever since 2010's premiere. It lasted from 2010 to 2013, and I gotta tell you, Victorious had one of the most talented casts I ever saw in my life. They won Favorite Kids TV Show at the 2012 Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards because of how much you guys believed in it. I had something to do with that behind the scenes, but that goes without saying. Victorious by far had one of the most talented casts that I had ever seen. That was the reason behind the spin-off Sam and Cat many years later. It may have only had 35 episodes, but it will go on to become everybody's favorite kids TV show because of just how funny the show was and how relatable its content was. And now all of a sudden Descendants of Zombies comes in and becomes everybody's favorite franchise because of just how powerful the story is. And it goes without saying, you guys have forever felt passionate about your favorite stars, your favorite characters who have helped really bring these franchises to life. So I say they deserve respect, and far more respect than ever given. And I say this because there are a lot of critics out there who have never wanted to give Descendants of Zombies much of a chance, but when it came to creating relatable content and really cool videos for you guys to have a chance of watching, I just wanted to be that one guy who would always come through with a really cool video of Descendants of Zombies in hopes, because the only hope I've ever seemed to have is that somebody would eventually hit my subscribe button because they love the stories that I shared or how passionate I felt about Descendants of Zombies just like them. Because no matter who we are, we've all had a favorite character or a favorite moment that has made us a fan of Descendants of Zombies, and I couldn't feel more honored to have had the chance to experience this with thousands of people who love Descendants of Zombies with all their heart. Thank you so much, by the way, for having chosen this YouTube channel as your favorite Descendants of Zombies YouTube channel on this Friday the 13th, the 2nd of 2026. And we are coming upon our second anniversary of this YouTube channel since its relaunching. And ever since its relaunching, this YouTube channel has garnered the reputation of becoming everybody's favorite Descendants of Zombies YouTube channel for just how passionate I felt about sharing with you my story and having the chance to hear your story, because no matter who we are, we all have a story. And you know something? The one thing about life that's forever precious is just how valuable time is, and the friendships we make, and the time that we spend with our friends, and the moments that we create. Because at the Worlds Collide Tour, at events such as the Worlds Collide Tour, you guys were taking selfies with your friends, you were uploading them on social media, you were so proud to share in this moment with everybody. And that's the one thing I give you a profound amount of credit for, and I will always have a tremendous amount of respect for you guys coming from my heart to yours, because you guys really glowed, and you brought events like the Worlds Collide Tour to life. You brought events like the Stars Align World Tour for Ray Sky to life, because they were in smaller venues, but even though they were in smaller venues, it goes without saying every venue had either limited seating or it was sold out. Because you guys believed in people like Freya Sky so much, and you were very passionate about them. And I've often said that you should never be afraid to let the world know and everybody how you truly feel about people like Kylie and Freya, because there's only so much opportunities you will receive in your lifetime to really make the most of them. And the Worlds Collide Tour and the Stars Align World Tour were ways of looking at that and perceiving that. And together, we came together and we created something really special for every fan of Descendants of Zombies. We gave them a reason to believe in these franchises perhaps more than ever before, and that's all I've ever wanted to be a part of, is something special, along with having a legacy that I would eventually leave behind for having been one of the greatest content creators of all time. Now, while that may be a long way away from ever happening for me, it goes without saying that it could happen for me, given how many people have believed in this YouTube channel from the very first video that was ever uploaded here, where I said that I wanted to create videos for you guys for the rest of my life about Descendants of Zombies. And lo and behold, that prediction, that theory, if you would, is coming true, because more people are becoming believers out of what I said about how I wanted to create videos about Descendants of Zombies for the rest of my life. That would be so cool, to have the honor to sit here in this chair and meet more fans of Descendants of Zombies than I have ever met, and to have the chance to be a part of more milestone moments, moments that we will never ever forget, that we've got a chance to share in. That's going to be so special to each and every one of our hearts. So I've had the honor of being a part of so many special moments, moments that I know that will forever and always hold a very special place in my heart, because I got to share in those moments and these stories with all of you. Even with how funny and how crazy these stories may have sounded to a lot of people, it gave you a reason and presented you with a chance to subscribe here because you thought this channel was cool. And knowing that you guys think this channel is so cool and forever held a special place in your hearts is what's made this channel such a huge honor for me to have created, because I know there are a lot of content creators out there who have never felt the same way of Descendants of Zombies, who have never presented this one with much of a chance. And if I was going to do anything, it was going to be presented with a chance and really believe in this franchise perhaps more than anybody ever has. Again, guys, thank you so much for having made this your favorite Descendants of Zombies YouTube channel of all time, and thank you so much, as always, for having watched this video, because the more love and support we have for your favorite stars, such as Kylie and Freya and Malia and even Ruby, it goes without saying that they will come further in their careers and they will become stronger than ever before. They are already some of the strongest people in the world that I have ever seen, but the more love and support we show for them, it goes without saying their careers will go further and they will achieve more success than perhaps ever before. And I'm just excited to be a part of this future with all of you. Thank you so much for having made this your favorite Descendants of Zombies YouTube channel, and for having a special place forever and always within your hearts for Descendants of Zombies. And as always, thank you so much for doing me the honor of allowing me to be a part of each and every one of your lives, and for having watched this video, as Descendants of Zombies is well on its way to making history, and it's history that we are all going to be a part of. Thank you so much for having a special place in your heart for all your favorite characters and all your favorite moments that have made you a fan of Descendants of Zombies. And as always, thank you so much from my heart to yours for taking the time to watch this video.